Admiral Xelthan's crystalline fingers traced patterns in the holographic display, casting prismatic shadows across his angular features. The Earth's solar system hung before him, a perfect representation down to the smallest captured detail. He had studied this display countless times over the past decade, watching, waiting, and growing increasingly uncertain about the Empire's traditional approach to emerging civilizations. Another breakthrough. Admiral, his aide, Lieutenant Kix, approached with a data crystal clutched in her four-fingered hand. Their quantum computing division has achieved another impossible milestone. Xelthan accepted the crystal, its surface cool against his skin. He didn't need to review its contents. The pattern had become painfully clear over the past 5 years. Humanity wasn't just advancing. They were leaping forward with an intuitive understanding of the universe that bordered on the miraculous. How long until they achieve gravitational manipulation at their current pace? He asked, already dreading the answer. Conservative estimates suggest 8 years. Kix's secondary eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of distress among her species. But given their pattern of exceeding our projections, 3 years, Xelthan finished. Perhaps less. The admission hummed heavy in the command center's recycled air. Around them, junior officers continued their work, monitoring the countless streams of data flowing in from observation posts scattered throughout Earth's solar system. Each report painted the same picture, a civilization advancing at an unprecedented rate. The door to the command center whispered open, admitting High Counselor Ven. Her crystalline form caught the light from the holographic display, sending rainbow refractions dancing across the walls. The junior officers straightened immediately, their postures reflecting the gravity of her unexpected presence. "The Council has reached a decision," she announced without preamble. Her voice carried the weight of 10,000 years of Empire governance. Earth can no longer be allowed to develop unchecked. Xelthan felt his primary heart skip a beat. "Counselor, if I may." "You may not, Admiral." Ven's tone softened slightly. "Your reports over the years have been thorough and your concerns noted, but the facts remain. Their advancement rate exceeds anything in our historical records. Their understanding of quantum mechanics alone has progressed further in decades than our civilization managed in centuries. They showed no signs of aggression," Xelthan argued, knowing it was futile. Their cultural development suggests a species that will not accept limitations," Ven interrupted. "They question everything, challenge every boundary, and refuse to accept the natural order of technological progression. Such unchecked advancement threatens the stability of the entire galaxy." The holographic display shifted, highlighting Earth's recent achievements in red. Faster than light travel developments, quantum computing breakthroughs, advances in material science that bordered on the impossible. Each point of data built a compelling case for the Council's fears. "The decree has been written," Ven continued. "Earth will be given one standard cycle to submit to Empire oversight and regulation of their technological development. If they refuse..." She left the consequence unspoken. Xelthan stared at the rotating image of Earth, so small and blue in the vast darkness of space. "They won't accept limitation," he said quietly. "It's not in their nature." "Then they will learn." Ven's expression hardened. "Prepare the fleet, Admiral. The decree will be transmitted within the hour." The command center burst into activity as Ven departed. Officers rushed to their stations, preparation protocols spinning into motion with practiced efficiency. Xelthan remained still, watching Earth's holographic image rotate slowly before him. "Sir," Kix approached cautiously. "The transmission is ready." With a heavy heart, Xelthan authorized the signal. The ultimatum streaked across space at faster-than-light speeds, carrying the Empire's demand for Earth's submission. The response came less than an hour later, a single word that sent chills through Xelthan's crystalline form. "Acknowledged." No protest, no negotiation, no panic. Just that single word, transmitted with perfect clarity across the vast distance of space. As Xelthan stared at the response, he couldn't shake the feeling that somehow In some way he couldn't quite grasp. The Empire had already lost. Captain Li Chen sat cross-legged in her observation post's meditation room, surrounded by screens showing the Empire's fleet movements. The crystalline ships glinted like stars against the darkness, their formations precise and beautiful in their deadly purpose. She sipped her oolong tea, a luxury in this hidden outpost tucked within a hollowed-out Kuiper belt object, and smiled. Status update. She spoke softly to her AI assistant. How many ships have passed through our sensor net? 742 capital ships detected. The AI responded, its voice calibrated to match the room's peaceful atmosphere, plus support vessels. Total count, 2,893. All signatures logged and transmitted to Earth Command via quantum channel. Lai nodded, watching another destroyer group glide past her hidden position. The Empire's ships were magnificent, their crystalline structures catching and refracting the distant sunlight. They moved with absolute confidence, unaware that every aspect of their advance was being meticulously recorded and analyzed. Aboard the Empire's flagship, Eternal Dawn, Fleet Commander Zira paced the command deck. Another sweep, she ordered, her crystalline form vibrating with frustration. There must be something. No defensive platforms detected, Commander, her sensor officer reported. Mars colonies show minimal power signatures, consistent with automated maintenance systems. Venus platforms appear powered down. No signs of military buildup anywhere in the system. Zira stopped at the main viewport, watching as Mars grew larger in their approach. The red planet's surface showed clear signs of human habitation, sprawling domed cities, transportation networks, and mining operations, but thermal scans showed them operating at minimal capacity, as if recently abandoned. It makes no sense, she muttered. Their response to our ultimatum showed no fear, yet they appear to have evacuated their outer colonies. Are they consolidating their forces around Earth? Long-range scans of Earth show normal civilian activity patterns, another officer reported. Their orbital stations continue routine operations. No unusual fleet movements detected. Their military vessels remain in standard patrol patterns. In her hidden outpost, Lai received the latest analysis from Earth Command. She reviewed the data while starting another cup of tea, appreciating how the Empire's advanced sensors swept right past her position. The outpost's quantum camouflage, developed through years of careful research, rendered it completely invisible to Imperial technology. They're proceeding exactly as predicted, she subvocalized to her neural link. Phase 1 timeline remains optimal. The acknowledgement came back instantly through the quantum channel. Maintain observation. Do not engage. Lai smiled again, remembering the years of preparation that had led to this moment. While the Empire watched Earth's obvious technological advances, they'd missed the subtle ones, the true breakthroughs that humanity had kept hidden. Back on the Eternal Dawn, Zira received reports from her advanced scouts. No signs of resistance in the asteroid belt, the report stated. Mining operations appear abandoned, but automated systems continue functioning. No weapons platforms detected. They must have some form of defense, Zira insisted. No species achieves their level of technological advancement without developing military capabilities. Perhaps they've developed cloaking technology, her tactical officer suggested. Our sensors can detect any known form of cloaking. Zira dismissed the idea. No, they're planning something else. Something we're not seeing. In the observation post, Lai's sensors detected a slight power fluctuation in one of the passing Empire ships. Right on schedule. She loved the event, knowing similar fluctuations would begin appearing throughout the fleet in the coming days. First seeds sprouting, she transmitted to Earth Command. The response came back immediately. Acknowledged. Continue observation. Lai finished her tea and settled in for another long watch, content in the knowledge that humanity's true defense was already at work. The Empire searched for weapons platforms and battle fleets, blind to the invisible agents of change already moving through their mighty armada. They expect a war, she whispered to herself, watching another crystalline ship pass silently through space. But we stopped fighting wars long ago. We found a better way. The Empire's fleet continued its advance toward Earth, its commanders growing increasingly uneasy with each empty sector they encountered. They expected resistance, defiance, or fear. Instead, they found only silence, a silence that held more power than any weapon they could imagine. Engine Room Chief Zaravek pressed her scaled hand against the crystalline wall of the propulsion chamber, feeling the subtle vibrations of the mighty engines. Something felt different today. Not wrong, exactly, but not quite right either. The harmonics were off by the smallest fraction, like a musical note played slightly sharp. "Run the diagnostic again," she ordered her maintenance team. "Level 4 this time. I want every parameter checked." Her second-in-command, Technician Rill, moved to the control panel. "Chief, this will be the third diagnostic today. The system shows green across all boards." "The system showed green yesterday too," Zaravek reminded him. Yet the guidance array needed recalibration twice during gamma shift. Around them, the engine room of the Imperial cruiser Steadfast Dawn hummed with energy. Crystalline conduits pulsed with power, carrying the lifeblood of the ship through its veins. But to Zaravek's trained senses, something about that rhythm had changed. She pulled up the maintenance logs on her neural display, scrolling through weeks of data. Small anomalies dotted the records. Minimal power fluctuations, minor calibration drift, tiny discrepancies in material density readings. Each occurrence fell well within acceptable parameters, yet their frequency was increasing. "Chief," one of her junior technicians called from the auxiliary control station, "we're getting odd readings from the hull integrity sensors in Section 7. Zaravek moved to the station, her tail twitching with curiosity. The readings showed microscopic changes in the hull's crystalline structure, changes that shouldn't be possible while the ship's material stabilizers were functioning normally. "Log it," she ordered. "And start checking other sections. I want to know if this is isolated or systemic." Meanwhile, in the ship's medical bay, Dr. Kenneth noticed his own set of anomalies. The bioscanners were requiring more frequent calibration, and the latest crew health reports showed subtle changes in how their bodies interacted with the ship's artificial gravity field. "It's as if," he muttered to himself, studying the data, "the gravity itself is becoming more Earth normal." He compiled his findings and sent them to engineering, adding another piece to the growing puzzle. Across the ship, similar reports accumulated. Minute changes in environmental systems, barely perceptible shifts in atmospheric composition, tiny alterations in the crystal tech interfaces. On the bridge, Captain Velnar received the latest fleet-wide status update. Other ships reported similar phenomena. Small, seemingly unrelated anomalies that defied explanation. The mighty dreadnought Eternal Dawn had experienced 3 navigation system resets in the past day. The light cruiser Swift Justice reported unusual patterns in their quantum communication arrays. "Your assessment?" Velnar asked his science officer. "The changes appear random, sir," Lieutenant Sess replied. "Each incident falls within normal operational parameters. But the pattern..." She paused, mandibles clicking thoughtfully. "The pattern suggests something systematic." Velnar turned to the main viewport, watching Earth's blue marble grow slowly larger in the distance. The planet's apparent serenity mocked them, challenging their expectations of resistance. In her engine room, Zaravek received the results of the latest diagnostic. Once again, all systems showed normal. Yet she knew, deep in her scales, that normal wasn't quite what it used to be. She accessed the ship's historical database, studying Earth's technological development. Their mastery of materials science had progressed at an astonishing rate, particularly in the field of adaptive technologies. "Check the molecular structure of the engine casing," she ordered suddenly, a new thought occurring to her. "Compare it to the original specifications." The results came back quickly, and Zaravek felt her scales ripple with shock. The changes were subtle, mere fractions of a percentage in atomic alignment. But they were there. The very substance of their ship was changing, transforming molecule by molecule into something else. "What are you up to?" she whispered, staring at the endless streams of data flowing across her screens. The numbers danced before her eyes, telling a story she couldn't quite grasp, a story of change so subtle and so profound that it had slipped past their most sophisticated detection systems. Outside the ship, the vastness of space held its secrets, and somewhere on Earth, humanity continued their daily routines, waiting patiently as their unseen strategy unfolded across the stars. Dr. Sarah Martinez floated in her observation chamber deep within Saturn's rings, surrounded by holographic displays showing streams of data from the Empire fleet. Each screen told a different part of the story: ship diagnostics, material composition changes, and most importantly, the spread patterns of her life's work. "Optimization complete on Series 7, her AI assistant announced. "Adaptation rate is exceeding projections by 12%. Sarah smiled, watching the microscopic ballet unfold through quantum imaging displays. Billions of nanobots, each smaller than a dust particle, drifted through space like electronic pollen. They sought out the unique crystalline signatures of Empire ships, attaching themselves with molecular precision to the advanced alien materials. "Show me the Eternal Dawn's structural analysis," she requested, brushing a loose strand of gray hair from her face. The flagship's schematics appeared before her, highlighted areas showing the gradual transformation of its hull composition. The nanobots weren't destroying. They were reimagining. Each carried a fragment of encoded information, a tiny piece of humanity's dreams for the future. When they encountered Empire technology, they began their delicate work of atomic reconstruction, guided by decades of research into peaceful applications of advanced technology. Her comm unit chimed softly. "Dr. Martinez, you have a priority message from Canton Base." The familiar face of Dr. Chenwei appeared in her display. "Sarah, the Empire's engineers are starting to notice the changes. Sooner than we expected." "But not soon enough to stop it," Sarah replied, pulling up another set of data streams. "The process has already reached critical mass in their forward elements. How's the adaptation study going?" "Fascinating results." Chen's eyes lit up with scientific enthusiasm. "The nanobots are learning from Empire technology even as they modify it. Each generation becomes more efficient at the transformation process. It's evolution in action, exactly as you predicted." Sarah zoomed in on a molecular-level view of the transformation process. Empire crystalline technology was incredibly advanced, but it followed rigid patterns that humanity's adaptive nanobots could interact with and gradually influence. The changes weren't random. They followed templates developed from humanity's most advanced research into sustainable technology and social development. "Their weapon systems are being transformed first," she noted, watching the subtle changes ripple through the Empire fleet. "Not disabled, redirected. Each crystal matrix is being reprogrammed at the atomic level to serve a different purpose. The ultimate recycling program," Chen chuckled. "Turning swords into plowshares, one molecule at a time." An alert flashed on one of Sarah's screens. Another Empire ship had just entered the solar system, its crystalline hull gleaming in the distant sunlight. Within minutes, the first nanobots made contact, beginning their patient work of transformation. "They're still searching for our defenses," Sarah observed, watching the ship's scan patterns, "looking for weapons platforms and shield generators." "Hard to fight an enemy that doesn't want to fight back," Chen replied. "Especially when that enemy is too small to see and too patient to stop." Sarah switched her view to Earth, where life continued as normal. Parks remained full, schools stayed open, and research facilities kept working on the next generation of innovations. The Empire's fleet drew closer each day, its commanders growing increasingly confused by the lack of visible resistance. "Latest projections?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. "Phase 1 will be complete within 3 weeks, Chen confirmed. "The changes will become undeniable within 5 days. By then, the transformation will be irreversible." Sarah nodded, watching another cluster of nanobots attach themselves to an Empire patrol ship. They would transform its weapons into atmospheric processors, its shield generators into gravity control systems, its targeting computers into environmental monitoring stations. The change would be gradual, precise, and absolutely unstoppable. Humanity's greatest weapon, she murmured, is our ability to imagine a better way. The Empire fleet continued its advance, its mighty ships glinting in the starlight, while inside them, molecule by molecule, humanity's vision of the future took shape, not through destruction or conquest, but through transformation and growth. A silent revolution written in the language of atoms. The mighty dreadnought Thunder of Dawn eased into its berth at Base Station Epsilon, its crystalline hull reflecting the light of nearby stars. Captain Mirethel stood at the command deck viewport, watching as maintenance drones swarmed around her vessel. Something about their movement patterns seemed different, more fluid than their usual rigid precision. "Docking complete, Captain," her helmsman announced. "Station control reports all systems nominal." Mirethel nodded, but her inner sense of unease deepened. The journey back to Epsilon had been marked by increasingly strange occurrences, subtle changes in ship systems that defied explanation. Her engineering team had documented hundreds of minor anomalies, each falling just within acceptable parameters. In her office on Luna Base, General Helena Chen reviewed the incoming data streams with satisfaction. The quantum displays showed the spread of nanobots throughout the Empire's supply network, each resupply operation carrying the seeds of transformation further into their territory. Base Station Epsilon has reached critical saturation, her AI assistant reported. Transformation processes are now self-sustaining in all major systems. Helena smiled, remembering the years of planning that had led to this moment. The Empire's greatest strength, its highly efficient supply and maintenance network, had become the perfect delivery system for humanity's message of change. Back on Epsilon, Chief Engineer Lexvin frowned at his diagnostic panel. The station's crystal matrices were showing unusual energy patterns, similar to the anomalies reported by visiting ships. He adjusted his sensors, trying to isolate the cause. "Sir," his assistant called out, "I'm detecting structural changes in the station's outer rings. The molecular alignment is shifting." Lexvon pulled up the detailed scans, his crystalline form vibrating with concern. The changes were subtle but unmistakable. The station's very substance was being slowly reorganized at the atomic level. "Look at these patterns," he muttered. "They're not random. There's purpose here, design." Across the station, similar reports began filtering in. Environmental systems adjusted themselves to more Earth-like settings. Power distribution networks reorganized for greater efficiency. Even the artificial gravity generators seemed to be evolving, becoming more sophisticated with each passing hour. In a hidden laboratory beneath Mare Tranquillitatis, Dr. James Wong monitored the transformation's progress across Empire space. His screen showed the spread of change, each point of light representing another location reached by humanity's nanobots. "The carrier ships have left Epsilon," his colleague Dr. Patil announced. "Tracking shows divergent courses to 17 different Empire systems." James nodded, watching the distribution patterns expand across his stellar map. Each ship carries enough nanobots to seed an entire system. By the time they realize what's happening, the change will be impossible to stop. On Base Station Epsilon, Captain Mirethel received an urgent report from her science officer. The analysis of their ship's recent anomalies matched similar patterns now appearing throughout the station. More worryingly, vessels that had departed days ago reported identical changes beginning in their home ports. "It's spreading," she realized, watching through the viewport as another trade ship departed the station. "Whatever this is, we're carrying it with us." In her Luna office, General Chen received confirmation of Phase 1's completion. The transformation had taken hold in the Empire's primary supply network, ensuring its inevitable spread throughout their territory. But unlike a virus or a weapon, this change brought evolution rather than destruction. "Humanity remembers its history," she wrote in her daily log. We remember the cost of war, the price of victory through destruction. So we chose a different path, victory through transformation. The Empire expected us to fight their way. Instead, we're teaching them to see things our way, one molecule at a time. The stars continued their eternal dance as trade ships scattered from Epsilon like dandelion seeds in the wind. Each vessel carried not just cargo but possibility. The possibility of a future built on cooperation rather than conquest. And in the depths of space, humanity's silent symphony played on, its melody written in the language of atomic change. Young Terra raced through the streets of Axiom Prime's capital city, her crystalline form shimmering with excitement. Where the Imperial Guard's training grounds had stood yesterday, she now found gardens filled with strange and beautiful plants. The rigid crystal structures had softened, transformed into graceful archways that seemed to grow from the ground itself. Look, Mother, she called out, pointing at a newly formed structure that pulsed with gentle light. It's changing again. Her mother, senior architect Valsha, watched in professional fascination as the former military command center continued its gradual transformation. The building's harsh angles had given way to organic curves, its weapon emplacements morphing into transparent domes that filtered sunlight into rainbow patterns. The whole city is changing, Valsha murmured, her scanner displaying real-time updates of the modifications spreading through the capital. But not at random. There's incredible sophistication in these designs. Above them, in the planet's orbit, Science Director Kenra observed similar changes sweeping through the orbital defense platforms. Their weapon systems hadn't shut down. Instead, they had evolved. Former planet killer arrays now served as atmospheric processors, purifying the air and stabilizing weather patterns. Shield generators had become gravity control systems, creating safe spaces for new forms of agriculture. Another weapons factory has completed its transformation, her assistant reported. It's now producing medical equipment. The design specifications appear to be a hybrid of Empire and Earth technology. Kenra studied the data streaming across her screens. The changes weren't limited to physical structures. They were affecting Empire society at its core. Communication networks evolved to facilitate better understanding between species. Educational systems updated themselves with new perspectives and possibilities. In her laboratory on Earth, Dr. Sarah Martinez received Kenra's analysis with satisfaction. The Empire's greatest scientific mind had begun to understand the true purpose of humanity's response. They're starting to see it, she told her team. The nanobots aren't just changing their technology. They're showing them alternatives they never imagined. On Axiom Prime's surface, a group of young Empire scientists gathered in what had once been a military strategic command center. The room had transformed into an open learning space, its walls now displaying real-time data from across the galaxy. They pored over the new information with growing excitement. These designs, one young researcher exclaimed, they're not just Earth technology. The nanobots are combining our crystalline engineering with human innovation, creating something entirely new. In orbit, Kenra received reports from across Empire space. Each world touched by the transformation reported similar changes. Military installations evolved into research centers. Detention facilities became cultural exchange hubs. Even their starships were changing, their weapons transforming into tools for exploration and discovery. They could have destroyed us, she realized, watching another defense platform transform into a stellar research station. Instead, they're teaching us to grow. Back on the surface, Tira discovered a new addition to her favorite park. A crystalline structure had emerged from the ground, its surface responding to touch with displays of Earth's history. She watched in wonder as images of human innovation and adaptation played across its facets. Why do they show us these things? She asked her mother. Valsha knelt beside her daughter, watching as the images shifted to show how humanity had overcome its own challenges. They're showing us their path, she explained, how they learned to choose creation over destruction. In her Earth laboratory, Sarah Martinez added Tira's question to her database of Empire responses. The young ones always understood first, their natural curiosity unhindered by old prejudices. The next generation will see it differently, she noted in her log. They won't remember a time of barriers and weapons. They'll grow up in a world where transformation and adaptation are the natural way. Across Empire space, the change continued its patient work, not through force or destruction, but through possibility and growth. Humanity's gift to the Empire wasn't defeat, it was evolution. High Counselor Ven stood in the transformed chamber that had once been the Empire's most secure military facility. Sunlight streamed through crystal walls that had been solid barriers mere weeks ago, creating patterns of light that danced across the gathered assembly. The room itself seemed alive, responsive to the thoughts and emotions of its occupants. "Show me Earth's message again," she requested softly. The chamber responded, its walls illuminating with streams of data, not just technical specifications, but the complete record of humanity's response to the Empire's ultimatum. Each nanobot carried not only instructions for physical transformation, but fragments of human history, culture, and aspirations. "They knew," Admiral Exelthan said, his voice filled with wonder. "They knew long before we arrived. Our first trade missions, our diplomatic exchanges. They were studying us, understanding us." Science Director Kenra stepped forward, her crystalline form refracting the patterns of light. "The nanobots weren't weapons," she explained, displaying molecular diagrams in the air. "They're teachers, carrying the accumulated knowledge of human innovation and adaptation." The assembled leaders watched as the display showed the spread of transformation across Empire space. Military installations had evolved into centers of learning and cultural exchange. Weapon factories now produced tools for exploration and environmental restoration. Even their mighty warships had transformed into vessels of discovery. Their strategy was perfect, Admiral Exelthan admitted. "We expected resistance, prepared for violence. But how do you fight an enemy that only wants to help you grow?" In her office on Earth, Dr. Sarah Martinez watched the Empire Council session through quantum imaging. Decades of work, countless hours of research and development, all leading to this moment of understanding. "They're ready," she transmitted to the waiting Earth Council. "The transformation has reached critical mass in their governing systems." Back in the Empire Chamber, Yum Tira had been invited to speak, the first child ever to address the High Council. She stood before them without fear, her crystalline form adapting naturally to the transformed environment. "The gardens in my city," she began, "they grow differently now. The plants respond to our thoughts, just like the buildings do. Yesterday, I imagined a flower I'd seen in the Earth database, and the garden created it. Not just an image, a real flower, adapted to live in our atmosphere." High Counselor Ven nodded, understanding flowing through her like light through crystal. "Not conquest," she said softly, "not even defense. They've given us the power to adapt, to evolve, to become something greater than we were." The chamber's walls shifted, displaying the changes spreading across Empire worlds. Cities transformed into living ecosystems. Transportation systems evolved to work in harmony with natural environments. Communication networks expanded to bridge not just distance, but understanding. Their message was in the method, Kenra realized. They showed us that true power lies not in destruction, but in transformation, not in forcing change, but in growing together. Admiral Exelthan accessed the latest fleet reports. The mighty armada that had set out to subdue Earth had itself been transformed. Weapons became tools for exploration. Battle computers evolved into environmental monitoring systems. Even the crystalline hulls of their ships had adapted, becoming more resilient and responsive. "We thought we were stronger," he mused. But they understood strength differently. They saw potential where we saw threats. The High Council chamber, once a place of rigid hierarchy and military planning, had become a forum for open dialogue. The very architecture encouraged exchange of ideas, fostering understanding and innovation. "Send our response to Earth," Ven commanded, her decision resonating through the transformed crystal walls. But before she could continue, a soft light pulsed through the chamber. Earth was already reaching out, ready to begin the next phase of their shared journey. The message that appeared was characteristically simple. Shall we begin? The first joint session of Earth Empire governance opened not with ceremony, but with curiosity. The transformed council chamber on Action Prime, adapted as representatives from both civilizations, entered, its crystalline surfaces creating spaces that felt familiar to each species while encouraging interaction between them. Dr. Sarah Martinez sat beside Admiral Xelthen, their contrasting forms, one flesh and blood, one living crystal, representing the bridge between their peoples. The chamber's walls shifted subtly, displaying real-time data from across both civilizations' territories. The integration is proceeding faster than projected, Sarah noted, watching as another sector reported successful synthesis of human and Empire technologies. Your people's ability to adapt has exceeded our models. Xelthen's crystalline form sparkled with amusement. Perhaps because your models didn't account for something vital, hope. You gave us more than new technology. You showed us new possibilities. Around them, working groups formed organically as experts from both civilizations found common ground. Empire crystalline engineers collaborated with human quantum physicists, their combined insights spawning innovations neither side could have achieved alone. In orbit above them, the former Imperial flagship Eternal Dawn prepared for its first mission under joint command. Captain Li Chen stood on its transformed bridge, marveling at how the ship had evolved. The crystalline surfaces responded to human intuition while maintaining their Empire precision, creating a hybrid interface that enhanced both approaches. Course plotted for the Andromeda arm, her Empire navigation officer reported. The new sensor array is detecting potential habitable systems we never could have seen before. Lai smiled, remembering her days of hidden observation in the Kuiper Belt. From watching each other to exploring together, she mused. Quite a journey. Back in the council chamber, young Tira had been appointed as part of the new education exchange program. She worked with human children, teaching them about Empire crystal technology, while learning Earth's approaches to innovation and adaptation. The gardens are teaching us too, she explained to the assembly, projecting images of the latest developments. They're combining Earth's biological diversity with our crystal matrices to create sustainable ecosystems on worlds we once thought uninhabitable. High Counselor Ven, who had once signed the order to subdue Earth, now stood at a podium made of living crystal and advanced Earth materials. Our civilizations faced a choice. She addressed the gathered representatives. Conflict or collaboration. Thanks to Earth's wisdom, we chose the latter, or rather, they chose it for us, with more foresight than we could have imagined. Dr. Martinez accessed the latest data through her neural interface. The transformation had spread beyond Empire space, touching distant worlds that had long resisted both human and Empire influence. The message carried by the nanobots resonated across species and cultures. Adaptation was stronger than dominance, growth more powerful than conquest. We're receiving requests for cultural exchange from 12 previously isolated systems, she announced. They've seen the results of our cooperation. They want to learn. Admiral Xelthen's form shifted in the Empire equivalent of a proud smile. Then we shall teach them as Earth taught us, not through force, but through example. The chamber's displays showed the spread of their combined influence, not an empire of conquest, but a network of cooperation. Ships that had once carried weapons now transported knowledge. Borders that had marked territory became gateways for exchange. The next phase begins, Ven declared, but stopped as the chamber itself seemed to pulse with new energy. The combined Earth-Empire systems had evolved again, suggesting new possibilities neither civilization had considered. Dr. Martinez watched as fresh data flowed across her interface. Not the next phase, she corrected gently. The next evolution. We've created something that grows on its own now, guided by both our people's dreams. Outside the chamber, the stars beckoned. Ships of hybrid design prepared for launches to unexplored regions of space. On countless worlds, gardens of crystal and chlorophyll reached toward distant suns. And in schools across both civilizations, children of all species learned a simple but profound truth. The greatest power lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the capacity to transform and grow together.